Ready to lead like you've been doing it for years? The truth is, leadership is hard, but waiting to feel ready is harder. This is the Instant Leader podcast with Andy Lee, bringing you real stories and proven principles to lead with more confidence today.
In today's episode, I sit down with Kurt Francis, Director of Franchise Sales and Growth Consultant, whose journey spans luxury real estate, international entrepreneurship, and Ironman triathlons. Get ready for an inspiring conversation packed with insights on leadership, the power of self-talk, resilience in the face of challenge, and why true leaders serve others before themselves. Kurt opens up about overcoming adversity, developing boldness, and the importance of gratitude, humility, and purpose in building a life and career that impacts those around you. Whether you're looking to level up your self-leadership, learn how to bounce back from setbacks, or discover daily habits for lasting influence, this episode is sure to leave you energized and ready to grow. Let's dive in. Hey, Kurt, welcome to the Instant Leader podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Andy, good to be with you.
Yeah, we go back a long time. We've met once over the years because we were in a mastermind together. But we've kept in touch, and I've seen you just do amazing things. So for the sake of the audience, could you kind of give a brief overview of what your current role is now?
Awesome, Andy. Yeah. So I'm Director of Franchise Sales for the Western part of the United States for a real estate company. And also I kind of got a hybrid role. The two of us in the United States in the hybrid role. Also franchise growth consultant, really to help franchise owners in our company really expand and grow. So that's basically what I do. I also do real estate sales, which I've done for many years. I focus more on high-end luxury because of my time. I don't want to do 20 transactions a year. So I focus on around about $3 million to $5.5 million sales price of the home. And then I'm also involved in a business with somebody for over 15 years in Philippines. So that takes a bit of my time. So I'm pretty spread out.
Yeah. And so that's kind of like a portfolio of work that you have there. What led you to where you are today? Were these conscious decisions? Did you always want to get into kind of entrepreneurship and sales and real estate?
Yeah, Andy, that's a great question. I don't think, sometimes we think we can plan our lives, but, we don't. We don't plan our lives. We got to have plans, right? And plans are very good for us because, it's like vision. Vision gets you moving. It doesn't mean, you're actually going to get there. Normally you go beyond, actually. You experience things you would never imagine. So, I never imagined I would be doing this stuff. Actually, when I moved from North Carolina to San Diego, 22, 23 years ago, I made a decision I wanted to get into real estate. But I never knew that I'd be managing offices, become, part of the executive leadership of a company called Century 21 Award. And I never imagined that. Never imagined I would be speaking around the country at a lot of conferences. In school for 13 years to finish 12 years at school. I never did a speech in school. I wouldn't, because I was always nervous and I hated it. And sometimes what I say is that that the boulder in your way is your way. The boulder in my way was I was at this fear of speaking, and often we should look at what's in our way, because often that is our way. And when we overcome that, we become great at it.
I love that. The boulder in your way is the way. That's great. Yeah. One thing I love about you, Kurt, is the energy and the drive. Like it just seems very natural for you. Were you always this driven? You had a vision, maybe not necessarily the plan you were saying. Where did the drive come from? What was motivating you to you've done and to get to where you are today?
So Andy, my mother always, tells everybody about this. She said, Kurt started walking before he should have been walking. And I would get up and fall. I'd get up and fall. I'd get up and fall. And they were surprised I was so young and I started to walk, but I was kept on falling. And I've always fallen. And I still fall, probably more than anybody else. So it's the get up and thing. I think, part of that was just in me. Part of that, I think, is my calling, is just get up. And so it's good. It's okay to take a risk and it's okay to fail. as long as you're not planning to hurt somebody or hurt a group of people. But it's okay to fall and fail. I think energy. Yes, I do have a lot of energy, but I've learned energy is not a feeling. People say, "Oh, I don't feel energetic. I feel like no energy." I believe that energy is a decision. Energy is a decision. I decide to have energy. I make that decision, and it's amazing how things fall in place. I just, even when I haven't eaten or something, I say no. Our brains are we created so beautifully, and the power of our mind is so powerful. And sometimes if like, I don't feel like getting up, and what did you just say? Get out of bed right now. I don't feel like going to exercise. Oh, you don't? Okay, you were going to do 30 minutes elliptical. Now you're going to do 60 minutes just because you thought that. So I tell my brain, don't tell me that stuff. I tell you what's going to happen. So it's that kind of creating that kind of thing. So I believe energy is a decision. Look, there are times when you've got flu or COVID, whatever. And of course, then you can't go and run and bike or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about normal day-to-day living. If you don't have, any medical issues or anything like that. But I believe that we can be a lot more energetic just by decision and choice.
How did you realize this? When did you realize this? It's not something that is taught at school, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
How did you learn it?
Andy, great question. And I haven't thought about this for a long time when I learned it. But when I made a decision to do an Ironman triathlon, now our family we've never been athletes or anything. And my father, I think, still the oldest South African who's done the world champs Ironman, in Kona. But my dad my dad was only 58 when he started like riding a bike, and he was about 65 when he did his first Ironman. And so, of course, that inspired, both my brothers and my sister and myself, and we've all done them. And it was training for an Ironman in Phoenix, Arizona. I just moved to the United States, and Phoenix, it gets up to, what's 110, 120 degrees Fahrenheit, so like 45 degrees, 47 degrees. And I was training for an Ironman, riding a bike 180 kilometers, in 45 degrees heat, and training like that. And when I literally did not feel like going out, to do it, but I knew, listen, you've got this race, you committed, your family's looking, your friends are expecting, so you just got to go and do this. And that's when I had to say to myself, hey, you will like this. You will make a decision. You're going to like it. Make a decision. You can't wait to get in that heat. When you don't feel like going to swim. I remember going to a gym. It is LA Fitness in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was too tired. So I first slept in the car for half an hour before at the gym, at the gym. And I just felt like going home. I said, no, you're gonna feel like doing this. You're gonna be energetic. You're gonna have energy. And so it's kind of that, because I really believe that we will never rise above our expression. We will never rise above our expression. And I remember an agent who worked for me years ago. And she said to me, I'm always late. And I said, that's why. She said, what do you mean? I said, no, you just told me why you're always late. She said, what? I didn't tell you that. I said, yes, you did. You just told me that. I said, what do you mean? I said, you just told me you're always late. So that's why you're always late, because we'll never rise above our expression. And when we want to change our life, and people say, well, affirmations don't work. And well, I've got to do it every day. Affirmations don't work, whatever. So, well, listen, not as showering. I've got to shower every day. I've got to brush my teeth every day. Showering doesn't work. You can't shower once and never shower again. We've got to keep on expressing and verbalizing, that. And, I believe, Andy, that our tongue is the most powerful muscle, in our body, our tongue. It's like a rudder, can guide us where there's no muscle. We think our tongue is there to see if something's, salty, sweet, or sour. Or we think the purpose of our tongue is just to prepare the food, to go down the gullet, or prepare the food to realize the toxins. No, our tongue is the catalyst for the most powerful chemicals on this planet. In fact, cocaine and all those things wouldn't do much to our body if we didn't have the four things. And I call it the daily dose, DOSE, dopamine, I'm oxytocin, serotonin, That's right. Right. And of course the endorphins. If we didn't have that, cocaine, those things wouldn't even do anything for us. And our tongue is the catalyst. Actually, it's very interesting when we express it as something is released in our brain, and those four chemicals are released. And so that's why I believe we can do a lot more when we speak them out with passion and with energy. Tony Robbins doesn't talk about affirmations; he talks about incantations. And his affirmations, you can sit at your desk and put your feet on the desk and just say affirmations. But incantations is where you actually get up and you demonstrate, you use your body, anyway, blah blah blah. That's
Yeah.
something exciting. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. You can't rise above your expression. What a
Yeah.
great expression that is. And then the power of the tongue that you talked about there. What I realized, as you were sharing before, you still have that inner voice, let's call it the inner critic or the inner demon, but you're also including and adding another voice, a louder voice, like within yourself, aren't you? Like that voice says, I don't want to go into the gym. I don't want to go on that bike ride. It's too hot outside. And then there's another voice coming in. So that battle is an ongoing one, because some people could have the opinion that actually it's about removing that silent critic altogether. And so you're just left with the one voice. What do you think?
Oh man, that's so powerful, right? That's so powerful. And I think as you get older, it's easier. I really think so. For me, that is. For me, that is because you start recognizing and realizing, these things. Some people just never do anything with it. They just keep on whatever. And I'm just not going to do it anymore. But I think that we must always know that there's always in our life is fight for position. We are fighting for position, whether you want to be the best in your company, whether you want to be the best father, whether you want to be, have the best weight. There's always a fight and for positioning, how we positioning ourselves. And when we recognize perhaps the negative thoughts or negative feelings, whatever, because our life is, like body, soul, and spirit, right? It's all three things. And all those three things need to start having a relationship with each other. And, we talk about relationships, but we just talk about the people. But what about the relationship inside ourselves? And we want to have great relationships out there, but we don't want to channel time to have the relationship within ourselves and getting body, soul, and spirit working together. And before we focus on, whether it's our wives or husbands or kids or parents, whatever. And yes, that's important and we need to, but the relationship that we have inside us, in our own body, and we need to spend time, in the mornings or evenings or afternoon, whenever. And this is a daily thing. Like we got to go to the bathroom daily. We got to go shower daily. Whatever. It's that same kind of thing. And it depends, how much we really want to have a healthy, strong life, in all areas, right?
Yeah, I think in my vocabulary, that's self leadership, right? It
Mm.
all starts with self leadership. And what you've just illustrated is self talk, your thinking. Being aware of that is so, so important, isn't it?
Yeah, and what you just said, being aware of it, and I think that's where it's really starts. And what you just said, I think that is the foundation of it, is the awareness of it. Where are you? And I like how you said self leadership, because yes, that's where leadership starts. It's self leadership.
Yeah.
And are we spending time? Are we spending time? I got a thing called 963, the pink Cadillac 963. Like, where does that come from? When I moved to the United States, I saw a Cadillac that was pink. And I said to this guy, his name is Jimmy, I said, who would want to ruin a Cadillac like that and paint it pink? And he said, well, my wife drives one. I was like, what do you mean? He said, no, it's from Mary Kay. If you did really well in Mary Kay, then you could get a pink Cadillac. That's when it started. I said, well, who's Mary Kay? Tell me about. So I started learning about Mary Kay, and she said when she started her company, it's a long story, but I'm just making it very short. When she started a company, she said to everybody, whenever you look at somebody, look and see that just, we look in the eyes, there's something hanging around their neck, a string, but something that says, make me feel good. And if you can make people feel good, you're going to build a good business. And I thought about that. And I thought, well, for me to make other people feel good, I've got to feel good. So, what am I going to do there? So I called it the Pink Cadillac 963. And that's what I do in the mornings. 9 things that I'm grateful for. So I write down the Pink Cadillac 963. 9 things I'm grateful for. 6 things I want to attract that day. And 3 people I'm going to invigorate. And, no matter what we're going, whether it's pain, whether it's finances, whether it's relationship, whatever we're going through, we've got something to give somebody else. We have got, and how do you feel better? Because remember, it's make me feel great. When I'm feeling great, these are 9 things I'm grateful for. So straight away, I'm feeling better, right? 6 things that I want to attract, hope, whatever it is with people. And then 3 people want to invigorate. And the 3 is the most powerful. When we make choice, okay, I'm going to invigorate 3 people. I'm going to text them, I'm going to call them, I'm going to go visit them, pop on their door, walk into their business, whatever. And that's what, and I think that's also part of leadership is we can help people, not necessarily just in our company, our family or churches or whatever, but we've got to be able to, lead people in different ways.
Yes. Yeah, I love that, Kurt. Especially when you focus on something outside of yourself, it takes the focus off self, right? When you have this little task, invigorate 3 people, when you're putting your emphasis on serving other people, it's outside of yourself and it takes the focus off you. And yeah, that's where, and as you said, that's where the leadership kind of comes in, but it also helps you feel better at the same time. Great. Now you talk about leadership. Kurt, can I ask you what values guide your particular leadership style?
Interesting. Andy, we are products of where we come from. And I really believe that, an upbringing of a child is so important. And even if kids depart from that way, eventually, I believe 80-90% come back to that. And so, a lot of my stuff is from, my mom and dad who really raised me, and it's very interesting. My dad, actually, our first full Ironman, my dad called me from South Africa the night before during the race. And he said to me, listen, he said, this race is tough. And if you want to finish it, you've got to do 2 things. He said, you've already trained your body, you've trained your mind to do this thing. But he said, number 1, be humble. He said, if let people pass you, if they want to, don't try and beat them. Be humble. Let them pass you. In fact, if you don't be humble, this race will humble you. This race will humble you. And it's like anything in life, right? When we prideful, whatever, that's the thing that's probably going to humble us, or because, things get thrown at us. And the next thing he said, when it hurts, it's supposed to. And I was going up this hill on this bicycle, the Adirondack Mountains in the state of New York, near Lake Placid. And those hills were deceptive. When I drove them, they didn't seem like hills. On a bicycle, it nearly killed me. It felt like fire going through my veins. And I just wanted to get on this bike and throw it down. That's how I felt. And I remember my dad's words, when it hurts, it's supposed to. And so when we go through things in life, especially if we're taking risks and we're doing new things, like what I've been doing right now is only for 1 year in this company. And a lot of things have been thrown at me and learning, a lot of things, a lot of struggles, a lot of challenges, right? And I just know the one thing, when it hurts, it's supposed to.
What a great phrase that is. And what is the learning lesson from that? Like how do you unpack that for me a little bit more for the audience?
So, so let's say, it is boiling water and I put my hand in that boiling water. My hand's supposed to hurt. In fact, if my hand doesn't hurt, then you've got problems. We think we've got problems because we get burnt. No. If you weren't burnt, you didn't feel the pain, that is a problem. Okay. That is a big problem. And, I don't know, if you know this, we were in a terrible lawsuit about 3 years ago. I was sued, and I just got this voicemail on my phone, and it is a call from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I thought, oh my gosh, it must be a scam call. And then I listened to the message, and it was a representative from this newspaper, the Pittsburgh Gazette, saying, "Hey, would you call me back and comment on the elaborate federal lawsuit you've been sued in?" I thought, "What the hang is this?" So I Googled it, and there my name was. And apparently, I had stolen $300,000 from a woman. San Diego real estate agent steals $300,000 from a woman, and so and I didn't know what is going on, but apparently, she fell in love with his face. As you know, there's a problem already, right? and she and my identity had been stolen. All my social media had been used with voiceover. It was before AI, um, and and she had fallen in love with this guy that had started companies. I mean, that you must see the stuff, and he had a big story to tell, and she fell in love with, and they sued me, and it wasn't me. And we went through a rough time because even our company attorney wouldn't want to talk to me again, and they actually said they had to let me go. And the owner just wouldn't do that. He said, "I know Kurt." And the long story, even the attorney, San Diego's number one criminal defense attorney, because they said you need a criminal defense attorney. Nobody files a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit, without evidence, and they've obviously got evidence. And my attorney said to me, said, "Hey, on the first meeting," he said, "I don't know how you haven't been arrested. I've gone through the lawsuit. It's elaborate. The stuff they're accusing you of and the so-called evidence they've got that you can be arrested. The problem is my father had just passed away from COVID, and I had to go to South Africa." And he said, "I'm not sure you're going to even get there." Well, I did get there, but I couldn't walk our dog. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I went to the office at 3 o'clock in the morning and be back sick because I thought FBI looking for me, whatever. And we went through a very rough time, Andy. Very rough time, nightmares. I'm getting arrested. I'm getting jail, in prison. I mean, all these things all the time. And of course, it was out. It was out on social media. And you know what? I learned this. Things don't happen to me. Things happen for me. Things don't happen because I grew in that time, Andy. And eventually they dismissed the case. And it's a long story. I'm not going to get into that now. They dismissed the case. And then there's a whole lot of other women who fell in love with the same thing. There were people from Ghana, and they arrested one guy in Texas, if I did. But we went through a very, very rough time. Going to a listing presentation. Well, I'm not sure if I want to list with you because all the stuff against you. You've stolen 300,000, and we hadn't. I mean, we hadn't. And so, but I learned that things don't happen to me; they happen for me. And I learned as well, even when it's not going my way, it is going my way. Even when it's not going my way, it is going my way because there's a bigger plan. There's something bigger. There's more people to impact. So
What a huge ordeal that was. And through that, the massive reframe that you did in your mind there, the whole to me thing versus for me thing. Now, hindsight is 2020. People talk about, I've learned my lessons looking back, but that for you piece, have you closed the loop on that particular episode? Like, how did it happen for you? What did you glean from it? How are you better? How did you grow?
great question. Great question. When things, the first thing that, when things come our way right now, um, I, I, Kurt, you've been through much bigger stuff than this. You've been through, so why are you even thinking that it's not going to work out? Why are you even thinking, if people, accuse me of stuff, which I haven't really had that, but, I'm just saying if people say things, because when we speak as leaders, people are going to say things. I mean, we're all going to get attacked, whether we've done something right or wrong, and it doesn't matter. And people are going to accuse us of stuff. I was telling that to somebody else the other day. They've been accused of something they didn't do, and I know them, and told them the story. So, firstly, I'm helping other people in it. Also, when we go through things, it's never for us. It's for somebody else that we can help. It's for somebody that we can contribute to. It's all about giving. So when we've got to pay the price sometimes for somebody else, and that's life, and that's leadership. And if you're a leader, you're gonna go through stuff, and it's not just you only for you. It's for somebody else that you've got responsibility, a calling to really help those group of people, that one person, that family, whatever it is. So what I'm learning is that some of that stuff is not just for me, but it's for me to touch somebody's life. And when they deep down, I mean, this family I'm right now helping right now, they both lost their jobs, both of them, at the same time, within a week or two. And, sitting with them, and they just, going through stuff and sharing. So it's like that. And just other personal things, I've got this when things go, I've got this, I can do this. I've been through bigger stuff. And then, and other things are big, but they don't seem big anymore because you've been through this stuff. They don't seem big anymore. And it's made bigger things look smaller. It's made bigger things look smaller, and it's motivated me to to take bigger risks, and to say things and be bold about things. Um,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
I yeah, in that process, I became very bold near the end, um, and that's another story. But a bigger level of boldness. My attorney said, "No, that's what I've been waiting from you, to speak out like that." And when I just stepped it up, took it up near the level, and because there was a whole lot of other people. And
Yeah, no, that's great, Kurt. So this, I think some leaders think that they have to know it all. They have to project a certain level of like authority and certainty. However, what you're saying is that no, you can share your experiences, because going through some bad things is an opportunity to then share those scars with other people and let them know they're not alone, and let them know that you understand the situation, you understand what they're going through, because you've been through similar. That's influence, right? That's really connecting at a kind of leadership level.
yeah, and I like how you started that when you use the word authority, because there are a lot of leaders who want authority. True leaders are not looking for authority. True leaders are looking for a vehicle or avenue that they can release their calling, they can release their skills, they can release their talents, they can release their abilities. I always say, what's the difference between arrogance and boldness? Because you can use the same words in both. Arrogance is when we are feeling, not when we are so insecure, when we are so insecure, and we all want to feel better. Everybody wants to feel better, right? But if you're sick, you want to feel better. I mean, everybody wants to feel better. That's it. And when we so insecure, we want to feel better. So what do? We push other people down so we can feel better. And the people that are the most controlling, whether it doesn't matter what job you're, a teacher, president of a nation, doesn't matter. When you become so controlling, it's just evidence of your deep insecurity that you want to feel better. So you've got to control and push people down, whatever. I'm not talking about, where you're a strong leader and you know what to do, but when you want to feel better. And a lot of strong people, they're not very strong. They're very insecure people. And they'll say one thing because it's there to actually push people down. Now, boldness, you can say the same words, but boldness is when you are so secure, you're so secure that you want to even take people, you say powerful stuff. This is what I've done. This is great. But you say it with the passion and the purpose of lifting people up, even above yourself. Even though you're going to tell great stories about yourself, but it's not about pushing people down. It's about taking other people and lifting them up. Mostly, that if you're a true leader, you want those people to be higher than you, to do better than you, to excel better than you. That I see as leadership, not looking for authority, as you said. Um, True leaders don't look for authority; they look for a vehicle.
Yeah, that's really good. And that in someone's own leadership journey, then, how do they make sure that they are leading from a place of security versus a place of insecurity?
Wow, what a great question. Andy, I think we need people in our life as mentors. And firstly, be accountable to ourselves. I get that, right? And we need that. But I believe that we need people that we can be vulnerable with, and 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 have a discussion with that. And when I say be vulnerable, you know, we all are insecure sometimes. But I'm not talking about when we have times of insecurity. I'm talking when we are so insecure that affects every area of our life and we can't do anything. We've got to be the best at everything, whatever. And we don't need to be the best at everything. I don't want to be the best. At everything. I don't want to be the best in front of everybody. I want to, hang out with people that know more than me, and that. But I think we've got to have close friends that we can be vulnerable with. Say, hey, these are the things that I'm battling with. These are the things that I feel insecure with. I don't feel, that I don't have the skill set to be able to do this task, or, I don't have the personality, or I don't have the, sometimes often we do, like the boulder in a way is a way. Often, well, then how can we get that skill? How can we do that? And we need to have conversations with people outside our direct relationships sometimes. And that, I think, when we're vulnerable, and we getting back to the word you used earlier, being aware of it. And sometimes people can see things in our life but we can't see it for ourselves, because when you're in the frame you can't see the picture, right? And so that's why we need people that we trust, people that are already there. And sometimes the people that are going to point it out to us is not even, they're not even a leader in that whatever you're doing. They just see you as, and they can really help it. Are we, again, being humble? Are we humble enough to hear some of those things? Now people are going to want to speak in your life, and sometimes and they shouldn't, because they've got no relation with you. They don't care about you. They just care about themselves. I'm not talking about, being humble and vulnerable to those people. I'm talking about people where you trust, and you look up.
Yeah, the mentorship, the trusted advisor. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so key. Kurt, you mentioned at the beginning you hated public speaking. You do a lot of public speaking now, or you have done. You've been doing it, like you've been on stages, been in conferences. It's clear how you're coming across now that there's a lot of confidence in that. Does that mean you now don't hate it at all? Does it mean that there's no fear at all? And if that is the case, how did that transformation come about?
Not a great question. So I think, looking back in my life, that there's a lot of fear because of insecurity, and because we don't know who we are, and we just haven't crossed that bridge yet. Um, the thing of, the thing of fear, right, is, you've got to present, you've got to perform, whatever, and I've got to be good. You're not there for you. You're there for an audience. So that when you feel fear, you got to focus on you. And when when you're speaking to a group of people, you're there because you've got to enrich their life. You've got to invigorate them. You've got to help them. You've got to teach them, train them, or teach a skill, whatever it is. It's about them, not about you. And the thing is, we get fear because we focus on me, me, me. And that's a big problem. When I realized that I had a message to give to people, it's not about me. I don't care how I perform. What I do care about is when they walk out of that room, are they going to be the same, impacted? Are they going to be challenged? Are they going to be inspired? Are they going to rethink their life? Is it going to cause a change of behavior? That's my purpose. And so it becomes about them. If it's about us, we feel insecure and we feel fearful. If it's about them, you feel so much better, because the focus is off oneself. And so basically that's what I'm. Do I still get a little bit nervous speaking? Sometimes, but it's never overwhelming. It's if I haven't prepared enough, and we need to prepare, and we prepare. What's my message, right? No. What does the audience need? What should they be getting? Whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's on stage, whether it's a phone call, they're all presentations. A phone call is a presentation. You meet somebody at the supermarket, it's actually a presentation. The whole thing is like, what can I do to help them? And if I'm not asking that question, then I should be fearful, and I should be nervous, and I should be insecure.
Yeah. The message that you want to get across has to be more important than your fear of the judgment that might result,
Mhm.
right?
Powerful.
Yeah. Love
And then
it.
also, I mean, not everyone's going to like me, and they don't, you know,
Mhm.
and it's not meant to be that way. And
Mhm.
I'm not, we just seeking to only please people all the time. And I'm not talking about, just pleasing people about that. It's about helping people. And sometimes, I've been helped by people that I didn't necessarily like, you know, um, and I've learned more from them. I've learned more from people who see things differently politically, and I learn from them. And if I just want to cut a relationship because I don't agree with somebody, my dad also taught me years ago that relationships, not based on agreement. It's based on trust and respect. There are going to be times in any relationship that you don't agree. And that's meant to be because that makes you a better person because it humbles you. You listen, you ask great questions. Some people don't. And the problem right now in America is people don't want to have conversation. They just want to hang out with the same kind of people, whatever. But we don't want to learn from other people or give the time and ask questions. So tell me why you feel that way. Just help me understand. We don't do that. And we need more of that kind of thing. So relation is not based on agreement, but it's based on trust and respect. And true relationships are based on that.
Yes. So learning how to disagree well is a real characteristic of a strong, healthy relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
great.
my big thing with this is, um, in leadership. And I mean, there's so many ways to define leadership and to really look, at it. But my thing is, if you look at a person the way they are, they only get worse. If you look at a person the way they can be, they only get better. And when we're leading people, that's a question I ask myself. And I work, franchise owners all across Western part of the United States. And some of them struggling, some of them in a challenge, some of them not growing. And I say to myself, good. Look at the way they are, and they're only going to get worse. Look at the way they could be, and they're only going to get better. Like today at 1:00, I've got this great strategy call with this entrepreneur in Seattle, and I can't wait for this 1:00 because the whole thing is that how can I be part of his business to take him to where he really wants to get, and don't look at the way he is right now. Look at the way he can be. Look at the way he should be because he's only going to get better. So I think in any leadership, if you're a father and you're leading a family, how do we look at, your wife or your husband or your kid or your daughter, how do you look at them the way they could be? And everybody. That to me is leadership. Leadership is not really a president of a national company, whatever, or charge of a group, whatever. Leadership, as you, I mean, I love how you said self leadership, and that starts with ourselves. Leading ourselves and leading like the body, soul, and mind together. Um, Look at the way you are, Kurt, and you're only going to get worse. Look at the way you could be, Kurt, and you're only going to get better. And so we've got to start with ourselves and say that.
Love it. That's so good. Always seeing that potential in somebody, seeing the potential in ourselves, seeing the room to grow. Great. Question on that. Some people see the potential that they have for themselves, and then they can kind of get themselves into this spiral of self deprecation because they feel like they're not achieving what they ought to be achieving.
I really believe we are, destined for great things, but we programmed for failure. I think we're all called to great things. And like, what could be a great thing could be a mother who wants to create a safe environment for their kids. Okay. That's greatness. That's greatness. Okay. That's a great calling. We often think great callings, what position have I got? There's no greatness in any position because, are you touching people's lives and helping people? That's what it's about, right? And so I think that, we've all got these different things that we call to, and the key thing is to really, find what that is. Um, find and seek and search for that, and to spend time doing that. And sorry, Andy, what is your question again? I just want to make sure I'm answering it properly. What was it?
That's the question. Well, what if somebody sees their potential, but instead of
Okay.
being motivated by it,
Yeah.
they get demotivated by it because they feel like they're not fulfilling it, or feeling like they're
Yeah.
not reaching it.
So I mean that happens, right? I mean, I don't think you're supposed to ever reach it, because
I
I
agree.
think that when we have a vision, and that it's not to get there, it's to move you, it's to get you going, because it's in that movement that other things are going to open up for you, and other things are going to close for you. So if we like people say, oh, mindset's important, but I disagree with that, because number one, you never can set your mind. We're not created that way. If you get notifications on the phone, this is happening, news, a plane crash, or whatever. We are created, okay, incredibly, that our minds is always seeking new stuff. That's how our minds work. We always seeking new revelation. We're always seeking new stuff. So to have a mindset, the only time we'll ever have a mindset is the day we dead or brain dead. The only time we'll ever have a mindset is the day we dead or brain dead. We will never have. So we tell people, have a great mindset. No, you cannot have a great mindset because it's impossible. What you can do, have a great mind direction. And do you know an aircraft? If you're flying from New York City to Los Angeles, and you're going to put the compass on 272 degrees, because that's the difference. That's on the compass. If you do that, you put it on 272 degrees. Guess what? You're never going to get there. You never get there, because there are winds that are going to blow you off course. You will end up with prevailing winds in Southern California. You're going to end up in Mexico. Just about guaranteed. Okay? So if we summer sink, we're going to put the compass on that, and we're going to set our mind that's impossible. You don't. But did you know that 90% of the time an aircraft is off course? 90% of the time. The autopilot's got to keep on adjusting. So if we just said, no, we just going to set it to 2 degrees, and we're just going to sit there for 5 hours, but you're never going to get there, ever. But when we realize that we don't have a mindset, we cannot sit, but we've got to redirect all the time, because winds are going to come, or there's a lot of turbulence. You're going to have to increase your altitude. You're going to decrease your altitude. The adjustments we've got to be making. So if we feel that we're not good enough, or we don't have, and then we've got to ask us, why do we feel that? Why do you feel, well, I don't have the skill set? Okay, well, can I get the skills? Can I take another AR training course? Or can I, what skills do I have to improve to be able to get there? And number one, you're probably never going to get there. You're going to go beyond that. You're going to go. So I think a part of the journey is to redirect, because we're going to meet other people. We're going to learn. We're going to read more. We're going to see another YouTube. We're going to, study something more. So I believe we created in a way we're not supposed to always get where we want to get, because there's even something bigger than that for us.
Yeah. So direction of travel and just moving, right? Evolution, moving, making progress. Yeah. You've really taken that word mindset and deconstructed it, and like, it's such a common word. I use it a lot as well. I talk about mindset being a paradigm shift. What you're talking about is that our mind is not set. What you're talking about, our mind should always be evolving, always be learning, always be growing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And readjusting. And we've got to readjust, and rethink,
Yeah.
and meditate, and that kind of stuff. And read more, because it's all about, and our mind. I mean, mind, body and spirit and soul. I mean, we've got to look at all those things, and our mind is a big part of it, and we created with great minds.
One thing that I have on my notes here is that a pivotal moment in your leadership journey has been when you learned how to say no, and when you learned when to say yes. Could you speak into that?
Yeah. Big one, big one. I've experienced different levels of that. I remember when I was, grew this one office, years ago, and to a lot of agents. And I didn't, I was excited that I'm getting this growth. I'm recruiting, because that's what really started my speaking, was my success in recruiting. And, and so I had this large office, and, but I never realized that in a large office, there's going to be a lot of things that mean a lot of people want time, a lot of people want all these things. And I just was just about having burnout. And my nature is to help people. So you want to help people. But I realized that I can't help everyone to that level. So I've got to say no. I have to say no. But so I've got to leverage myself. So saying no allowed me yeses for other things, because I could say, the more I could say no, I could say yes to other things. Then, what's my three top priorities, what I've got to do and achieve? It's got 1, 2, 3. Okay. So what about 4 and 5 that's still got to be done, but you can't do it? So it's leveraging, hiring the right people, finding the right people to actually do that for you. And, and the hardest thing was for me to say no to people, because I want to help them. But it doesn't mean that they mustn't get up. They must get help, but it's not for me to do. And I've got to find the right people. And so that was a big thing. Also, I've learned that in different levels, even for training for Ironman those days. For me to have a yes to do training the next day, I had to say no to go out to a restaurant the night before. But friends, Kurt, we haven't seen you for ages. Let's just do this. So, the thing was, the big yes, I've got to train tomorrow. So the no is, and it sounds like simple, but I love going out with people. You say, I love socializing. So those little things, I've just learned. And that's happened a few times in my life in different things. Even recently, with my job right now, I was supposed to go there. Here's the thing, on next Wednesday. I an office that where I hang my real estate license. They are going to this new building going up in San Diego, and we had a special invitation, and I was really looking forward to it. I didn't realize that I've got to be in LA doing business planning with one of our franchise owners and all their agents. And like, man, I already say no to the fun thing, and yes to the right thing, because my purpose is to invigorate people and to make sure that they're going to grow this next year, 2026, and not just for me to get entertained and socialize with all my other peeps and a big group of us going to this new building. So, things like that. And making the right yes decision and the right no decision. And for every no, there's an opportunity for yes.
Yeah. So understanding that there's always a cost involved here. And also your decision-making process is really guided by your purpose. You mentioned that word purpose again. And that's important, right? You didn't say guided by what's making me the most money, guided by what's going to give me the most fun. It's guided by your purpose. And coincidentally, sometimes that purpose does lead to actually choosing fun or choosing money, choosing the business opportunity. But the bigger thing is being guided by knowing what you want or knowing what you're called to do.
Yeah. And I like what you said, knowing what you're called to do, because I believe that we are called to do things. I believe that, and I don't believe that the majority of this world see it like that. And because your calling is not for you to look great, your calling is to help other people always. Your calling, whatever skill we've got, it's never for us. It's always for somebody else. Whatever skill or talents or gifting we've got, it's never for us, ever. It's always for somebody else.
And that is clearly that's something that's run through your career and through your life. The hate public speaking thing. Well, that's all about me. If I make it about my fears and my fear of judgment and what people might think, you shifted that by thinking about serving other people. Your
Yeah.
decisions, what you do now, all about serving other people and making that impact.
And absolutely. And, I see things differently. Um, Jay Bear, I'm not sure if you ever read some of his stuff.
No.
Um, and, uh, and he's said a lot of great stuff, right? And whether I like him as a person or not, it doesn't matter. But I've learned a lot from reading this guy's stuff and the things he said. And he said something that really impacted me. Now I actually I've changed what I say. And some people really like initially don't like what I say. I always say, I give the worst customer service always. I give the worst customer service to all my franchise owners, to all my clients buying real estate. I give the worst customer service always. Because I learned something. If you think when you call customer service, like your bank or whatever, it's because something's gone wrong or technology's gone wrong. So customer service begins where customer experience fails. Customer service begins where customer experience fails. And if someone needs customer service from me, it's because I lack giving them an experience. And so my whole thing with leadership and leadership with clients, with the franchise owners, is that am I creating the experience, a great experience for them? Whether I like them or not, does not matter. Am I creating that experience for them? So forget about just serving people, because sometimes you just serve people just make them feel good. And it's not about that. It's about creating the experience that's going to enrich their life, enrich their family's life, enrich their organization, and other people. So that's my seeing it. So the whole thing. And what's experience? Experience is the way you feel about something. I experienced something great, or it was a great flight, or the airline was great, the hotel was great, the journey was great, the weather was great. I mean, you know, um, how do I feel about it? And I want to create a great experience for myself, helping other people, with the view of that I can create a great experience for them, because it's all about them. So that's my views on, or my
Yeah.
feeling, thought process on that.
Yeah. That's great. And what was the name of the author?
I think it's J Bear. I think it's B.E.A.R. I can look it up
Okay.
for you right now. As you talk, I can look it up. I think
Yeah.
J.
Kurt, that's I love the thoughts and opinions you have, because they seem to go against the general, like it's counterintuitive. Some of the thoughts that you have, some of the principles that you live by, and yet they're so incredibly effective. I wanted to ask you this next question. What advice would you give to our listeners and viewers who wanted to improve their instant leadership?
Well, firstly, I love your name, Instant Leadership. By the way, I think that is so unique. That is so unique. Um, so it's, number one, if anybody wants it, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because we should all want to be leaders, whether it is a mother in a home, or a janitor, or father, whatever. We should all want to be that. So number one, that is a calling, and you've got to be grateful in yourself for even having that desire, and recognize it. And you've got to be speaking that of yourself. And like the pink Cadillac 963, 9 things you're grateful for. One of the things you should be grateful for yourself, grateful that you want to be a leader, that you want to be a leader. Find out exactly, like you said, you've got to know your calling, and then what skills do you need. Because I believe that there are four master influences we have in our life. And I'm extremely dyslexic, and I spell things really badly. And the way I spell bike, and it was B.I.C.E. B.I.C.E. I couldn't understand how you get bicycle, and then how do you get bike, B.I.K. Where does a K come from? It's a C, right? That's just this little African boy. So the four powerful master influences in our life comes from the word bike, B-I-C-E. And you put the word self in before that. B stands for belief. B stands for belief. And if we're not working on that every day or every week, we're not going to achieve, whatever. Okay. I is image, self-image. And, let me tell you, when kids are, oh, I want to be a pilot, or I want to be a president, or I want to do this, I want to do that. And then they get to 40 years old, and then, they can't imagine anymore. And they can't imagine anymore, cannot dream anymore. They cannot imagine anymore. Um, because if you look at the word imagine, it's image. They don't have that self-image. You cannot imagine and dream if you don't have an image of yourself, and self-image, of an image of your calling. So it's belief and image, very different. C is confidence. Now, but isn't confidence the same as belief? Absolutely not. Because belief means, you could sort of, see it happening. You could see it happening in a way, or feel it's going to happen, or but confidence comes by skill. And if someone's skilled at playing music, which I'm not, and my brother is, playing in front of thousands of people, I can't. He's skilled at it. He's skilled at his voice. He's skilled. He's trained it. Skilled. You know, we don't come out the womb knowing how to write. Okay, we come in the womb knowing nothing, but we've learned these skills in life. And for us to have confidence, we need to improve our skill. Okay, that's the third one. And the fourth one is E for esteem, self-esteem, the way we feel about ourselves. So it's belief, image, self-image, confidence, C, and esteem. And when we learn that, because when we have that, we can help more people at a higher level. We can give more, we can contribute more, we can create these things for people and help them. And, for us wanting to be in leadership or doing that, it's not for ourselves, it's always for somebody else. So what do the people need? Who are the people I'm going to help? Who are the people I'm attracted to help? We can't help, we can't do everything for everybody, whether it's homeless or whether it's, we can't help everybody, but who am I called? As you were saying earlier, who am I called to really help? And then, um, the bike, B.I.C.E.
Love that acronym there, B.I.C.E. And it sounds like those four things there, they have to work in conjunction with each other, right?
Very much so.
You can't take something out and work on only one thing at the detriment of the other three.
Andy, absolutely. And I will tell you that I fail at that. I'll be honest. I felt, even when I know this and I do this, but even sharing right now, I'm leaving this time with you. I'm leaving feeling more inspired. I am. It feels like this today is just for me. That's how it feels, because I know the stuff and I do it, but I need to take it to another level. I need to take it another level, and I'm getting inspired by that. But all the things that we're talking about, and we do them, we live it, but let's go to another level. Let's rethink it. Let's what other behavior or activities can I do? So all these things I believe in and I can do it at a higher level, because it's for other people, not me.
Yeah, yeah. And Kurt, that's the other fascinating thing about you, is that you can take the same experience and like the same, not experience, the same situation, but just the way that you interpret it. Like you said, you could take it to another level. Other people could be on this podcast and be like, it's great. And yet you can look deeper and you can find something in here that other people can't find. It's like this perspective that you have. Maybe it's on the world. Maybe it's from yourself. Like, makes you like a really special outlook that you have there.
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. And no matter all the things that I've been through, there's always somebody that's gone through more or worse. And my thing is that we must be grateful. We've got to be grateful every day, no matter what we're going through. Number one, it's things that happen to you, that happen for you. So we've got to be grateful for the things that we even don't like happening to us, or the challenges. We've got to be grateful for and learn to appreciate that, because knowing that there's a purpose in that for us to become better people, and we in everything, what can I learn from it? Even a great experience, what can I learn from it? A bad experience, it doesn't matter what the experience is. what can I learn? How can I grow? And how can I use it to, to help somebody? And the thing is that, I mean, I still feel that I make more mistakes. I feel I say the wrong things. I even catch myself thinking the wrong things, and I catch myself even using the word mindset, and I don't agree that the word exists. And yes, but we're meant to fail because it humbles us, and we got to live in a state of humility. We've got to live that, because if we don't understand grace, and life is about grace.
Yes.
It's about grace.
Yeah.
It's about forgiving yourself first, forgiving others. Life is about grace and forgiveness. That's the essence of life, and of course, love, and all that. And but I think it's about grace and forgiveness. And no matter who you are, doesn't matter who you are. If we don't understand grace, and we only understand grace when we understand gratitude and being grateful for. And by the way, I know Americans, South Africans, the British, I know how they spell grateful. I don't spell grateful like that. I can't. I spell grateful Great, capital Full. We've got to be grateful for that. I can't spell it great. Grate. No. It takes the power away of grateful. We've got to make it grateful. That's how we need to.
I love that, Kurt. I love that. So much wisdom there, Kurt. Really, thank you for sharing your lessons. It's clear that through what you've gone through and through your life, you've taken as much from your experience and turned it into lessons for the future, lessons to help evolve your mind. And so really grateful you get to share that with the people who are listening and watching this. As we end now, do you have any final parting thoughts?
I always say, people say never give up or quit. And I was watching my dad do this Ironman. I was following him online. It was another country. I can't remember which country he was doing this race. And I saw him stop. And he didn't. And I called my dad, and I said the next day, and I spoke to my mom about it. And, Dad, why did you quit? He said, I never quit. He said, Dad, but you didn't finish the race. He said, Kurt, that race, that event was only for preparing for the world champs in Hawaii. And he said, I didn't want to get injured and not being able to do what I was meant to do, called to do, that the big race. So I didn't quit. That's not quitting. I never quit on the vision. I never quit on that. I stopped doing something because it was going to interfere with what I had to do. And sometimes we judge other people and we judge ourselves, or perhaps quitting. No, certain things are not quitting. Certain things are not quitting. Certain things you stop doing it because it's taking you away or going to rob you from doing what you're really called to do.
Yeah, no, that's so good. I mean, you think of maybe somebody taking a course, or paying a lot of money to do a degree, and they invest tens of thousands and 3 years of their life or more, and then they go out and they work in a completely different field, and they think, oh, that's a waste. But actually, no, it's all progress, isn't it? It's all progress.
So true. And we know so many people who've gone, got university degrees, and they've never done. A friend of mine studied film and did really well at NYU in New York City, and got nothing to do with film or anything, but is just excelled in what she's doing. So it's like, it's all progress, as you say.
Yeah,
so
great. Carl, thank you so much for your time. It's just
Andy,
been so good to reconnect.
Andy, dude, I love you, my friend. You're an example to this planet. Your spirit, your energy, your style, your giving, your listening, what you contribute to so many of us. And we need more of you and in our lives. And I need more of you because your spirit is powerful and just invigorating. Thank you.
I love you too, Kurt. Thank you, my man. Take care. Bless you.
Thanks for listening to The Instant Leader. Want practical tools you can use straight away? Join the community and get resources at theinstantleader.com. If you enjoyed this, follow the show and share it with someone who's ready to lead from where they are. Until next time.